Thank you for watching or listening to this free podcast of the Young Turks. We want to make sure that you get some portion of the show every day, but if you want the full show, which is actually 5 segments, come become a member and support independent media as well. tytnetwork.com/join. Meanwhile, enjoy the free podcast. All right, welcome to the Young Turks. Cenk Uygur Ana Kasparian with you guys, and big day, tragic day, unfortunately, as usual in America. Another shooting. We will get to that story in a second. But also good news, of course, throughout the program as well. I want to let you guys know, I'll keep on telling you this as things proceed forward, but we've got a live town hall on Monday, July 16th with Bernie Sanders again. You'll be able to watch it right here on the Young Turks at tyt.com/live at 7 p.m. Eastern. Speaking of 7 p.m. Eastern and progressives, tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez on the show to respond to Democratic and Republican attacks. So that ought to be interesting. So a lot more news, but obviously the tragedy in Maryland is at the top of everybody's mind. So let's get started. Anna, what do you have on that?
All right. In a story that continues to develop, we've gotten word that there was a shooter at the Capital Gazette, a newspaper in Annapolis, Maryland. Now, this occurred in the newsroom of the paper, and so far we know that at least 5 people have died as a result of this person opening fire. We do not know the identification of the shooter at the moment, but here is what we do know. An intern working for the paper put out a tweet indicating that they were in harm's way. He had tweeted the following: active shooter, and then included the address and said, please help us. Now that's Anthony Messenger, again, he's an intern. Anthony Messenger also tweeted at the Baltimore Sun that a writer at the Capital Gazette who edits other local newspapers was shot. And Phil Davis, who is a Gazette reporter, said that multiple people had been shot. Now, we got word that John McNamara was one of the individuals who was shot. And again, this is a developing story. The details are still incredibly sketchy, and police are kind of holding back from releasing a lot of information. But just to read some of what Phil Davis, one of the reporters, had said on Twitter, and this was not while he was hiding under a desk. This was actually while he was waiting to speak to police. He had tweeted, "There is nothing more terrifying than hearing multiple people get shot while you're under your desk and then hear the gunman reload." He also said, "A single shooter shot multiple people at my office, some of whom are dead." Finally, he says, "Gunman shot through the glass door to the office and opened fire on multiple employees. Can't say much more and don't want to declare anyone dead, but it's bad." But we now know that at least 5 people have died.
Okay, the country has lost its mind on several different fronts. I want to break it down and explain it. There's an attack on the press that Donald Trump called enemy of the people. Given the amount of gun violence in the country, given the right-wing assault on the press, this is not remotely surprising. Is anyone really surprised? When you heard about an active shooter and 5 people dead, were you shocked? I thought, yeah, well, it's Thursday in America. Of course there's an active shooter. There's always an active shooter because we have 250 million guns in the country. And the right wing, which has lost its mind in its entirety, celebrates it. Yeah, that's called freedom. This is not what I call freedom. And those people are dead. Just for 1 second, think about what Phil Davis said. Imagine in your office, wherever your office is, just picture it for a second, and you hear a shooter, and picture your coworkers, they're getting shot. You go under your desk, and you hear him reload. That's what happened today. Phil Davis was super lucky to survive, as were all the survivors, but 5 people did not survive. Because we have a country that has lost its mind. Okay, let's just give everybody guns. Everybody gets guns. Gee, I wonder if a certain percentage of the population is going to be mentally unbalanced. Of course, in every country, you have a certain percentage that is mentally unbalanced. And they might have no reason behind an attack. They might have a political reason behind an attack. They might have a religious reason behind the attack. But the bottom line is, of course they're crazy. They're all crazy. You think terrorists are sane? You think oh, well, I'm a dentist and everything is going well. And I got 3 kids, but you know what? I'm just gonna go shoot people. No, they're looking for honor and glory in their twisted minds in almost all these cases. And plus there's just the people who really should be locked up in asylums, and we don't do that either. And then on top of that literally fiery stew that we have in this country, we then have the president inciting people nonstop. So look, I'm gonna get to the second way the Republican Party has lost its mind, but I wanna go to video 13. This was just, what was this, less than a week ago, right, in South Carolina. Donald Trump. We'll take a look. Video 13, don't we have it? God damn it, all right. So Trump says—
A few days ago, I called the fake news the enemy of the people, and they are. They are the enemy of the people. Because they have no sources, they just make them up when there are none. Say that we can't criticize their dishonest coverage because of the First Amendment. They always bring up the First Amendment.
Okay, so Anna and I discussed this on a previous show. I think, is it all right to criticize the press? Of course it is. You also have a First Amendment right? Is it okay to call them biased? Of course it is. Is it okay to call them the enemy of the people, especially when you're the president of the United States? No, not remotely okay. How many times has this guy incited people? He says, oh, you gotta attack them, I'll pay for your bills. Attack, attack, attack. And then Charlottesville happens. He learns nothing from it, and then he goes on to say, there's very good people on both sides. There's very good people on the Nazi side? Is that what happened? And he has no remorse. And the Republican voters had already almost lost their minds, and Trump just put them over the top. So why do I blame all the voters, which no one else says, oh my God, don't criticize the Republican voters. No, I will criticize them, because they love guns, and they say, give it to everybody, give it to everybody. Don't get surprised when the policies they voted for wind up murdering someone you know. Okay, and in the case of the media, poll just came out. 92% of Republicans say that the news sources report news they know to be fake, false, or purposely misleading. 92%. 92% of Republican voters say they all go into newsrooms, like the one they just shot up, and we don't know who it is in specific. I'm telling you the trends and where the right wing keeps pushing, right? Oh, they go into that Capitol Gazette and they don't actually do the news. They don't check any of the facts. They just make up stuff against Republicans. Oh, they're the enemy of the people. Why don't you? The only thing left to say is, why don't you do something about it? They bring them right up to the edge, except for Milo Yiannopoulos, who just said a couple of days ago, I can't wait for vigilante squads to start gunning journalists down on sight. Just a couple of days ago.
So he did say that, not just to one journalist, but to 2 journalists. And we talked about that when that story broke. And of course, he is now being questioned about those statements and whether or not there could be a connection to what happened in the shooting. And I want to be clear, we don't know who the shooter is, and it's difficult to mention what a motive is until we know exactly what happened and what his motive is. But with that said, I agree with Cenk in that every single day we do hear something from the president of the United States in regard to how the media is the enemy, the media is not to be trusted, it's fake news, fake news, fake news. He keeps drawing this narrative that is incredibly dangerous, because if his voters are convinced that media sources that are critical of him are not to be trusted and that they're the enemy of the people, I mean,
it's no, enemy of the people from a president is unacceptable. Totally, completely unacceptable. What does enemy of the people mean? It means do something about it. They're your enemy and they're here right now. Look, I know why he wants to smear the press and prosecutors and rule of law, because he's a lifelong criminal. He's been a criminal his whole life. Oh, and we've shown you dozens of cases on the Young Turks. Oh, I need to build something.
I apologize, we just got word. The shooter has been identified as an adult white male. That's all we know so far.
Okay, that still doesn't mean anything. So you don't know his purposes, et cetera, right? But Trump is under investigation now, so what does he do? He attacks, prosecutors. Don't believe the prosecutors. Don't believe the rule of law. Don't believe the cops. Don't believe the FBI. Oh, the press gives you facts. Don't believe the press. They're the enemy of the people. So that's Trump and that's Milo. So was it them who egged on this person, or was it a personal thing? We don't yet know, okay? But if you're an investigator trying to figure out why somebody did this, you think you don't talk to Milo? Of course you talk to Milo. And by the way, Milo, whether it was one of your fans or not, congratulations.
He can't wait, right?
Yeah, no, you want, no, but let's be absolutely clear. Milo wanted journalists murdered, and today they were murdered. So congratulations, Milo, you animal. You goddamn sick Nazi bastard, okay? So I hope I'm clear. So what are they gonna do? Oh, what are we the enemy of the people? Okay, these are fascists. They viciously attack their opponents. And I'm tired of the left and the media and everyone else in this country just laying down. And now there's 5 people laying down on the ground because everybody's got guns and they keep telling you, attack the press, attack the press. God damn it. People keep dying every day. When are we gonna do something about it? And when we say that, we mean legally, we mean politically, because we're not like the animals on the right. We actually believe in democracy, we believe in this country, we believe in the Constitution, and we believe that you do things through democracy and politics, not through violence. But the other side, they don't play by any rules because they don't believe in our form of government. They are fascist and authoritarian by their nature. So what do? Egg people on until there's people on the ground.
I want to read the response that Milo Yiannopoulos gave to reporters when they questioned him about his statements and whether there could potentially be any relation to the shooting that just happened. He said, if there turns out to be any dimension to this crime related to my private misreported remarks.
Yeah. Ironic. Why don't you call them fake news while you're at it?
The responsibility, no, it gets worse. The responsibility for that lies wholly with the Beast, meaning the Daily Beast, and Observer for drumming up fake hysteria about my private joke, and with the verified liberals who pretended they thought I was serious.
So you did say it. You did say it, and now your excuse is, oh, when I was talking about murdering journalists, I was joking. Ha ha, what a funny joke, Milo. And now 5 people are dead and there's 5 families and their loved ones are not gonna come home. What a funny joke that was, Milo. It isn't a goddamn game. You don't understand. I know you're doing it for profit, you're doing it for personal glory, and you have no morals, none. I get that. But what you don't understand is your followers are lunatics. They're deranged lunatics. So when you say murder journalists, you claim it was a joke, which I don't believe for a second. By the way, Milo also sent a little payment to a reporter he didn't like for $14.88. 14 represents white supremacists, 88 represents Heil Hitler. So when I call him a Nazi, it is purposeful because that is what he does. You think 1488's a mistake? No, he does it on purpose. They did Heil Hitler once he was singing and he didn't do anything about it. Richard Spencer. So he loves it and he eggs people on even if he pretends afterwards. So he does not deny the quote. He just says, oh, I was joking about a terrible, terrible thing. But your listeners oftentimes act on your things. Now in this case, we don't know yet. We do know what the result you wanted. That is clear. You wanted to egg people on and you wanted to incite people. So congratulations. So
we have some more breaking news about the shooting. This is according to the county executive. Her name is Ann Arundel, and these are the pieces of information that just broke. So police found the suspect in today's shooting hiding under a desk in the building. The suspect's weapon was on ground and not in his immediate proximity. Now the authorities do have a name for this gunman, but they're not releasing it at this moment. And we also know that law enforcement officials entered the building and they found a package or carrying device which contained a flammable liquid on the ground.
Okay, get the goddamn money out of politics. These loathsome politicians. How many people of their own people, their own citizens murdered in the streets, and they don't give a goddamn as long as they clear that check. So let's go to that animal Larry Hogan now.
We need to talk about a relatively new show called the Republic. or UNFTR. As a Young Turks fan, you already know that the government, the media, and corporations are constantly peddling lies that serve the interests of the rich and powerful. But now there's a podcast dedicated to unraveling those lies, debunking the conventional wisdom. In each episode of On the Republic, or UNFTR, the host delves into a different historical episode or topic that's generally misunderstood or purposely obfuscated by the so-called powers that be, featuring in-depth research, razor-sharp commentary, and just the right amount of vulgarity. The UNFTR podcast takes a sledgehammer to what you thought you knew about some of the nation's most sacred historical cows. But don't just take my word for it. The New York Times described UNFTR as consistently compelling and educational, aiming to challenge conventional wisdom and upend the historical narratives that were taught in school. For as the great philosopher Yoda once put it, "You must unlearn what you have learned." And that's true whether you're in Jedi training or you're uprooting and exposing all the propaganda and disinformation you've been fed over the course of your lifetime. So search for UNFTR in your podcast app today and get ready to get informed, angered, and entertained all at the same time.
You want me to do it?
Go ahead, yeah.
So Larry Hogan, the governor of Maryland, says absolutely devastated to learn of this tragedy in Annapolis. Yeah, easy to say afterwards. Super easy. 5 dead, the press attacked. Larry Hogan has an A- rating from the NRA. In other words, the NRA loves Larry Hogan. Great job. Way to block all the gun laws. Now, Larry Hogan couldn't block some of them because they were put into place before him in Maryland, so that he is not in favor of banning automatic weapons or assault weapons, but luckily Maryland has that ban anyway. But Hogan didn't want it. Hogan didn't want it. So, and then tragedy after tragedy, and Hogan pretends to be a moderate. And it's working relatively well in Maryland. People are tricked, deluded into thinking that he's a moderate. Meanwhile, the NRA's like, attaboy, Larry Hogan. Why? But he tries to block the gun legislation as much as humanly possible. Then after the massacre in Florida, he comes out and goes, well, I mean, we should spend more on school security. Okay, great, what do you want to do? You want to ban guns from schools? No, armed resource officers, just like Trump. Oh, you want to put more guns into schools? Well, I'm going to spend money. Yeah, you're going to spend money to buy more guns from gun manufacturers. That'll turn your NRA score into an A+. So, well, I'm kind of in favor of domestic violence victims being protected. That's already in the book. It's already proposed over and over in Maryland. So it's just the tiniest little proposals. So you can go, I'm a moderate. No, you're not. No, you're not. You do a lot of nice little tricks on disagreeing with Trump around the edges when it almost never matters. But the NRA thinks you're not a moderate. They think you're awesome. Way to make sure there isn't any effective gun control in Maryland. So the money in politics swamps our politicians. 93% of Americans want federal background checks. Over 80% of gun owners want it. Over 70% of NRA members want it, but the gun manufacturers do not want it. In fact, in the state of Maryland, when they were considering banning bump stocks, the very, very minimum that you could do, that allows you to fire the weapons incredibly fast, and that's what was used in the Vegas massacre, the worst massacre in modern American history. What did the NRA do in Maryland? They sent their lobbyists to say, no, the law is overly broad. It might affect the ergonomic status of some of the guns. Oh, I'm sorry, am I bothering how you're handling the weapon and how cool it looks and how manly you feel when you hold a gun? And that's why we're not gonna ban bump stocks? And did Hogan fight like hell to get it out and make sure that it passes? No, A from the NRA, A-. That's Larry Hogan in a nutshell. Oh, I'm a moderate. I got an A- from the NRA. Now, if you're a moderate, you agree with 93% of Americans and you get an F from the NRA. But no, you don't. And so, by the way, Ben Jealous is running against him. He's a real progressive. He just won his primary. He was on TYT Network just yesterday and he said, damn right I'd ban assault weapons. Of course he would, because some people actually care about their citizens instead of giving BS thoughts and prayers afterwards. Trump talking about thoughts and prayers. Spare your thoughts and prayers. What we could have used is you not saying over and over again that the press is the enemy of the people. What we could have used in Maryland and across the country is gun control, but we didn't get it from Republican politicians because they are bought and sold by the gun manufacturers who run the NRA. And so Larry Hogan afterwards saying he's devastated. No, we could have used your devastation before the shooting so that we could have prevented the shooting. So every Republican who takes money from the NRA has blood on their hands. They get paid to make sure that there's more weapons, they are unrestricted, and that the rest of us die. But hey, I got a campaign contribution. You must be so proud. Wolf-pack.com. Get the money out. If you don't get the money out, we're literally dying in the streets because of these corrupt politicians.
At TYT, we frequently talk about all the ways that big tech companies are taking control of our online lives, constantly monitoring us and storing and selling our data. But that doesn't mean we have to let them. It's possible to stay anonymous online and hide your data from the prying eyes of big tech. And one of the best ways is with ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN hides your IP address, making your activity more difficult to trace and sell to advertisers. ExpressVPN also encrypts 100% of your network data to protect you from eavesdroppers and cyber criminals. And it's also easy to install. A single mouse click protects all your devices. But listen, guys, this is important. ExpressVPN is rated #1 by CNET and Wired magazine. So take back control of your life online and secure your data with a top VPN solution available, ExpressVPN. And if you go to expressvpn.com/TYT, you can get 3 extra months for free with this exclusive link just for TYT fans. That's expressvpn.com/TYT. Check it out today.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be back.
You're right in the middle of this podcast. We got another great segment coming up for you. If you'd like the full show, which is actually 5 segments, go to tytnetwork.com/join. You become a member, you support the show, you support independent media, and you get the whole 2-hour show ad-free every day. Let's go do it now. All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur Ana Kasparian with you guys. All right, now joining us is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She obviously won a historic upset in the Queens and Bronx in that district, likely to be a United States Congresswoman and likely to be the youngest woman to ever go to Congress. Now, of course, after that historic upset, there were a lot of people who were shocked and there were a lot of people who were upset, and both on the Democratic and the Republican side, and we wanted to bring her back on to answer some of those charges. First of all, Alexandria, great to have you back on.
Hi, great to be here.
All right, great. So, first thing I wanted to ask you, Alexandria, is some folks in the Democratic establishment, including people like Nancy Pelosi, have said, no, this race is not indicative, that it's just about your particular district or the demographics of your district, and that it is not about a trend or a movement in the country. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think that is, it's just incorrect, especially now that we're seeing the breakdowns of how we won this race. Now that we're out about last 24 to 48 hours, we're getting a little bit more sophisticated data back. And a lot of people kind of tried to write this victory off as a demographic victory. They tried to write this off as, a fluke. But what we're seeing actually in where this campaign won, it really dominated almost every demographic. It wasn't split by race disproportionately. It wasn't split too much by geography at all. We really carried almost the entire district across demographics. And we really especially carried with young people. We carried across race as well. So I think that what this really was about was a very strong message and a very strong strategy.
So just to follow up on that, Alexandria, so do you think that there is a movement in the country and that this is just the tip of the spear, indicative of that movement?
Oh, absolutely. You look at what's going on with Justice Democrats. I'm so thankful thankful for this moment right now because just this morning, we had this real whirlwind of media yesterday, but now today we're starting to see that other Justice Democrats are starting to get taken much more seriously. I was on MSNBC with Cori Bush of Missouri this morning. I'm hearing that Sarah Smith out in Washington was now on CNN recently, and I think that this is absolutely a movement. I think that a lot of this message can carry throughout the country and reverberate throughout the country.
Alexandria, I feel like the reason that your message resonated with people of all demographics is because you really spoke to the issues that matter to everyone, and they're issues that don't discriminate based on race. So in your debate with Crowley, what I loved was that you kept driving home the point of housing and how affordable housing keeps getting demolished and luxury condos keep getting built or luxury apartments keep getting built. That is a problem that not only impacts New Yorkers, but people throughout the country, including here in Los Angeles. So I just wanted to thank you for drawing attention to that issue. It's something that I really care about, and I feel like it gets ignored by most politicians. So thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. No, and it's because it's probably one of the most powerful bipartisan lobbies in Congress and in general as well. Housing is not really seen as a partisan issue, but it is an issue where a lot of Americans are in crisis. So I thought it was just a really important and exemplary issue that even, I think a lot of progressives could run on, especially those that live in urban areas where, people are getting really priced out.
Absolutely. So now we heard from some of the dismissive comments from, the establishment Democrats, but now the right wing is a little concerned. And Hannity actually spoke about you on his show last night. And we're going to show you a little clip and then get your response to it. Let's take a look.
And many are hailing Cortez as a rising star on the political landscape. But in reality, her views, her policy positions are actually downright scary. Look, by the way, he was a guy that was supposed to take over for Nancy Pelosi, perhaps. Look very carefully. This is the future. This is your modern Democratic Party. Cortez, who will likely win the general election in a Democratic district, is pushing for, let's see, single-payer, universal health care, universal jobs, government-subsidized housing for everybody, tuition, free colleges. She wants to abolish ICE and, of course, impeach President Trump. Now, the only difference between the self-proclaimed socialist that you just saw and the rest of the Democratic Party is she's actually more honest.
I mean, it's kind of incredible because I feel like he did an ad campaign for you. I mean, that screen showed all these incredible things like healthcare for all, free education. But I mean, what's your response to these scary policies?
I want to cut that clip and just run it as a Facebook ad, really. That's amazing. Thank you, Sean Hannity, for such a succinct and rousing description of my platform. And I'm excited about it because, I mean, first of all, hey, earned media. And secondly, this is the platform that the majority of Americans support. One of the reasons I'm so excited to support this platform is because 60% of Americans believe that Medicare for all is the answer. The majority of Americans, like 80%, support a Clean Dream Act. People want education. People want access to housing, and we're here to advocate for it. So, I think I had a tweet drafted earlier today. I hadn't seen this, but I had a tweet drafted and I wasn't able to send it out, but basically that the GOP is freaking out because I'm going to send their kids to college. And listen, I'll do it. I will make do on that threat.
I love it. I love it.
All right, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, very likely soon to be a congresswoman from Queens and Bronx. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, you guys. Thank you for your constant support.
Wonderful.
Of course.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, guys. We've got more on these topics as soon as we return. Thanks for watching or listening to this free version of the Young Turks podcast. You know that the full show is at tytnetwork.com/join. If you become a member, you get the full show ad-free. We love you for watching or listening. Either way, there's going to be a new free podcast tomorrow. You can keep on doing that. But if you want to get the full show ad-free, tytnetwork.com/join. Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Young Turks. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, Cenk Uygur, and I'll see you soon.